Now we have a caller on the line from Finland. Mohammed, thanks for joining us. What would you like to ask?
Hello to everyone.
Hi.
Actually, my point is that, there is a minority of people that are against the system. Okay? Why you such a, I respect your news and everything, but why you just emphasizing such a narrow population? And today it's such a massive demonstration, okay? And you are just giving the wrong address.
Okay, Mohammed, actually that's an interesting point, and a valid point, of course, and Johannes, perhaps, the Green Movement has gone, we should point out, has gone out of its way to say that it actually supports the Islamic nature of the government, but is looking for more civil liberties and freedoms. And I wonder if you feel, Mohammed's saying it's a very small resistance, whether you feel that the way the Green Movement's going and saying it's supportive of the government, the basis of the government, that it's a common view among Iranians.
Well, I think the best way I can answer the viewer's question is to say, if the clerical regime believed this statement, why would they bother cracking down so severely and murdering our sons and daughters on the streets of Iran if they feel so secure that they're just a blemish or a minority? I beg to differ, sir. I think the majority of the Iranian people in 30 years have had enough with this regime, because there's no aspect of Iranian life that has been left unaffected in a negative sense by this regime, starting with women losing their rights to equality, not to mention religious minorities that have been persecuted, not to mention ethnic communities in our country. Need I say more? Not to mention the economic situation that people are suffering under, problems with inflation, unemployment, no hope for the future, youth in our country trying to, in some cases, flee from the country to maybe find a very crude job outside just to be able to breathe and make some living. The writing is on the wall. Saying this from a distance is a sign of utter denial as to what is happening in our country, and I'm sure I'm not alone in witnessing what is happening today in Iran, not just in the main cities, but in the four corners of our land.
Now, interestingly enough, though, there are a few things that seem to have improved under the theocracies. Some of the political institutions seem to have more powers than they did before, and there's certainly more health care and education across the population as well. So presumably there's also some benefits that the people have felt as well.
I will let public opinion in Iran to decide. The problem that we have, Mr. Khan, and I think all our viewers will appreciate that, is that there's no way that you can actually measure public sentiment when there's absence of public debate, or open debate for that matter. That we know does not exist. So rather than hypothesize about who thinks what, I think the first degree of certainty to know what people really want is to give them the opportunity to speak and to be free to decide and therefore to vote. Does that situation prevail in Iran today? Of course not. Therefore, I don't know if it matters whether we want to argue if the country was educated, or as you placed it, some institution may appear to have more control. Bottom line is that you have a self-appointed representative of God on earth who decides who deserves to live and who deserves to die. And whoever challenges the system is called someone who is an affront to God and is worthy of capital punishment. I don't call that freedom. I don't call that progress. I'm sorry.
Let's get Ali Reza on the line. He's in New York City. Go ahead, Ali Reza.
Yes, I just had a comment for your guest. I'm an Iranian American, and I think in looking at your biography, and I've looked into it a bit, I think your only qualification to lead Iranians is that you came from your father's seed. From what I can tell, you have no success in business, academia, or anywhere else. And I deeply resent that you think that your royal lineage, it gives you the right to be my leader. And I really wish that you would stop just aspiring to that position. I wish that you would just go away.
Okay, Ali Reza, thanks. Let me put to you, Johannes, what's in terms of what you're doing now, what is it what role do you see yourself playing specifically now in the way Iran might change, and what sort of role do you envisage for yourself in the future, assuming there is a change?
Well, my goal is to have someone, for our latest caller, to have the freedom to say exactly what he said in our own country, where today he cannot. About somebody like me or whoever else he has an issue with. I'm fighting for the freedom of opinion of every Iranian citizen, regardless of what that opinion may be. So therefore, I think it's the idea that I'm fighting for, which is really what I put on the table for the Iranian people to decide upon. Whether or not I'm qualified for the job is up to them to decide. Clearly, this particular individual doesn't have a vote for me, but that's fine. I think the people of Iran at the right time will have to decide that. Let's focus on where we need to go, however. Are we content with the circumstances in our country today? Are the people today, the young sons and daughters of this revolution today, the next generation that is suffering under this regime, asking anything less for their right to decide for themselves? And if so, isn't it our duty to help them achieve that goal? That's what I'm trying to do, and that's all I'm doing at this time. Therefore, I'm not running for office so that you question my qualifications, but focus on the message, and the message is, let's free Iran. You don't like the messenger, that's fine. Do you have a problem with the message? Ask that question, rather.
Okay, Rowina's on the line from the UK. Rowina, what would you like to ask?
Indeed, an honor for me to speak to you. I'm a student of history at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London, and my focus is mainly on Iranian history. But I'm very interested in your idea about freeing Iran. Do you think that the Iranian population today would be open to the idea of you coming back, either as a monarch or as a political candidate? I'd like very much to hear your views on that.
Okay. We're discussing the long-term impact of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, which took place 31 years ago, and examining how the government in Tehran is handling the demands for reform. Joining me is Reza Pahlavi, the heir to the Pahlavi dynasty that ruled Iran for 74 years until the Islamic clerics took power in 1979. He's joining us from Paris. Sir, just before the break, we had Rowena in the UK asking if you believe that the people of Iran could accept you or would take the view of you coming back either as a monarch or some kind of strong political figure.
Well, look, again, let me focus on the job at hand today, and the only mission that I have set for myself in terms of what I believe my compatriots expect from someone like me is to liberate Iran and bring it to a point that we can freely elect a government of our choice. The demand in Iran today is, in the greatest majority that I can think of, in the last 30 years, of people from different walks of life and political persuasion seems to be consolidated around a common denominator, a democratic secular alternative and a parliamentary system of government. I think if the question is posed today in a national referendum, the majority of people would reject the current regime in favor of a change, at which point I think a constituent assembly would have to write a new constitution and debate the final form of this regime beyond the content of it being a democratic parliamentary system, and leave that final choice to the people of Iran as to in what form this institution will be represented, either on the parliamentary monarchy, for instance, or the parliamentary republic. That debate will have to take place at the right time. Therefore, I don't think that it is fruitful at this point to bring in divisive issues rather than issues that unite us all if we believe in democracy and human rights. That is, I think, the common denominator of most freedom-seeking Iranians.
Okay, Barak is on the line from Madrid. Barak, go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Pahlavi is very clear about his vision, and I think it's very articulate. But my question is this: in a country where its regime is willing to use force up to extreme levels, does he think that really a non-violent movement can succeed?
Okay.